Hello and welcome. Today we are reading from Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories, Volume 1, page 25, The Hollow Pie. Robert had the very bad habit of always taking the biggest and best of everything for himself. His brothers, Charlie and Ted, would call him all sorts of names for doing it, but that did not seem to make any difference. Mother was very sorry about it too, especially as Robert, when invited out to parties, always disgraced the family by his greediness. What could be done? Mother talked the matter over with her sister, who lived on the next street. A few days later, the boys were delighted to receive an invitation to dinner from their auntie. Remembering all the good things they had enjoyed there in times past, they looked forward to the day of the party with keen anticipation. At last, the day came and dinner time arrived, for which Robert especially had been waiting. The table was piled with good things: cakes, fruits, jellies, pies, chocolates, and the rest. Robert's eyes roamed around on the wonderful spread of tasty dishes. "Oh my," he thought, "if only I could attend to this little matter all by myself." Then he spied a beautiful apple on the fruit dish. It was one of the biggest he had ever seen. There and then, he determined to have it sometime during the evening. He also looked around at the other things and made his mind which of them he would choose when the plates were passed around. When all the visitors had been given their places around the table, dinner began. They all started with bread and potatoes and greens in the usual way. But Robert soon got tired of them. He wanted that big pie he could see on a plate at the other side of the table. Would he get it in time, or would Charlie get it first? The pies were passed around. Charlie and Ted took small ones and opened them. "What wonderful centers they have," thought Robert. "Now, if only I can get that big one." Robert's turn came. The biggest pie was still there, and of course, he took it with joy. But a disappointment awaited him. As he cut through the top, the whole pie collapsed. It was hollow. Poor Robert. Tears filled his eyes, but as no one seemed to notice what had happened, he ate the crust as bravely as he could and said nothing. The cakes were passed around. Robert thought he was quite justified in taking the biggest this time, seeing there had been nothing in his pie. But something was wrong with his cake. It looked all right outside, but the center was bitter. What could be the matter, thought Robert. Auntie was generally such a good cook, and then too, the others didn't seem to be having any trouble at all. It wasn't fair, thought Robert, but he didn't dare say anything for fear the others would laugh at him. Now came the fruit. How thankful Robert was that the plate was passed down his side of the table first. He felt sure Charlie was after that big apple. Anyhow, he would get it this time. The plate reached Robert, and he put his hand into the middle of the pile of fruit. Oranges and pears scattered in all directions over the tablecloth, to the great dismay of Robert's mother. But Robert got his apple. His teeth were soon busy, but alas, something seemed to be the matter again. Taking his knife, Robert cut the apple in two. To his utter disgust, he found the center was bad. Still, nobody seemed to notice Robert's unhappiness, and no one passed him anything to make up for his misfortunes. Moreover, the others all seemed to be enjoying themselves to the full. The chocolates came next. And by this time, Robert was getting desperate. I shall have to make up for lost time by taking those two big beauties in the center, he said to himself as he removed the two best-looking ones from the plate. Ugh, said Robert, groaning inwardly and blushing all over with disappointment. What a horrible taste! Swallowing one with difficulty, he tried the other to take the taste away, only to find it worse. On the way home, Charlie remarked to Robert about the splendid dinner they had had. Splendid? What? Said Robert. I thought you were not enjoying yourself, said Charlie. You looked uncomfortable. What was the matter? Matter? Said Robert. Everything I took was bad, even though I did take what looked best every time. Maybe that was the cause of the trouble, Robert, said Charlie knowingly. I think if I were you, I would leave the biggest and best-looking things for somebody else next time. That night, Robert stayed awake quite a long time. There were two reasons. One, a pain under his pajama jacket, and the other, the advice Charlie had given him. He put two and two together, and at last decided that the best and safest course for him would be to follow Charlie's suggestion in the future.